Have you ever noticed how tightly you're holding on to something and how tired that makes you feel? Not just physically tired, but emotionally tired. The kind of tired that sits quietly inside your chest and doesn't go away even after rest. Maybe you're holding on to a person, a version of yourself, an old conversation, a regret, a hope that refuses to move, or a pain that has already happened yet still feels present. And maybe deep down you've wondered, is this normal? Am I weak for holding on? Or is holding on actually hurting me more than I realize? Let's talk about that, gently, honestly, without judgment. Because the truth is, almost everyone holds on, and almost no one is taught what it actually does to us. Holding on often starts as something very innocent. It begins as love, as care, as hope, as fear of losing something that once made us feel safe, seen, or alive. We don't wake up one day and decide, I'm going to trap myself emotionally. No. Holding on usually feels like survival. When something matters to us, our mind tries to protect it. And the easiest way the mind knows how to protect is to grip tighter. So yes, holding on to mentality is normal. It is human. It is common. It is deeply rooted in how we're wired. But normal does not always mean healthy, and familiar does not always mean nourishing. Sometimes what once protected us slowly becomes the thing that exhausts us. A holding on mentality slowly teaches the body to stay tense, even when there's no danger anymore. You may notice it in small ways: overthinking, replaying conversations, struggling to accept change, feeling anxious when things don't go as planned, feeling emotionally heavy even during calm moments. It's like your inner world never fully rests, because when you're holding on, a part of you is always bracing, always waiting, always afraid that if you loosen your grip, something will collapse. And that constant inner tension quietly shapes who you become. Emotionally, holding on keeps wounds open longer than they need to be. It keeps the past alive in the present. You may say, I've moved on, but your body remembers. Your reactions remember. Your thoughts remember. Holding on doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like strength. Sometimes it looks like patience. But inside there's resistance. Resistance to what is. Resistance to change. Resistance to uncertainty. And resistance over time creates suffering. Mentally, holding on narrows your world. When you're gripping something tightly, your focus shrinks. Your mind circles around the same thoughts. Your imagination stops expanding. You may notice that joy feels muted. New opportunities don't excite you the same way. You feel stuck, but you can't explain why. Because a part of you is still living somewhere else, in a past version of life, in a future you're desperately trying to control. And the present moment, the only place where peace actually lives, gets neglected. Spiritually, holding on creates disconnection. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because holding on is rooted in mistrust. Mistrust of life, mistrust of timing, mistrust of yourself. It quietly says, if I don't control this, everything will fall apart. And that belief becomes heavy to carry. Now, here's something important to understand. Holding on is not a flaw. It's often a sign that you cared deeply, that you invested your heart, that something mattered enough to try to preserve it. And that deserves compassion, not criticism. But there comes a moment, usually a quiet one, where holding on stops serving love and starts serving fear. And fear is never meant to lead your life. So, should a holding on mentality be continued? Not blindly, not automatically, not just because it feels familiar. Holding on becomes unhealthy when it costs you your peace, when it keeps you stuck, when it makes you smaller instead of stronger. Life is movement, growth requires space, and holding on too tightly leaves no room for expansion. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're giving up. Often, letting go simply means you trust life more than your fear. And that shift doesn't happen forcefully. It happens softly. Now, people often ask, how do I get rid of this mentality? How do I stop holding on? But here's the gentle truth. You don't get rid of holding on by fighting it. You don't force release. You don't rip emotions out. You don't shame yourself into freedom. Release happens when understanding arrives. You start loosening your grip the moment you realize that holding on hasn't actually protected you the way you thought it would. You begin to soften when you see that your life continued, even through the things you feared losing. You relax when you recognize that you are stronger than the outcomes you tried to control. Letting go often begins with awareness. You notice when your body tightens, when your thoughts loop, when your emotions resist what is, and instead of fixing it, you simply acknowledge it. This is me holding on. That's okay. I see it now. This awareness alone begins to melt rigidity. Another quiet shift happens when you understand that nothing truly meant for you requires force. Not love, not peace, not alignment, not purpose. Things that are meant to stay, stay without you gripping them. Things that require constant tension to keep alive often leave behind exhaustion, not fulfillment. Staying away from a holding on mentality doesn't mean becoming detached or cold. It means becoming flexible. It means allowing life to breathe. It means trusting that you can handle whatever comes next, even if you don't know what that is yet. And trust is built slowly, through experience, not through control. You may still feel the urge to hold on sometimes. That doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're human. But over time, you'll notice something beautiful. You recover faster. You soften quicker. You don't cling as long. And that's growth. One day, you'll look back at something you once held on to desperately and realize you survived letting it go. You learned from it. You became more yourself because of it. And you'll understand that letting go was never about loss. It was about making space. Space for peace. Space for new joy. Space for ease. So if you're holding on to something right now, be gentle with yourself. You don't need to rush release. You don't need to force healing. You don't need to become someone else overnight. Just notice. Just breathe. Just trust that life is not against you. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is loosen your grip and allow yourself to rest. Because you were never meant to live clenched. You were meant to live open. And in this openness, you find the freedom to explore, to connect, to love without fear. When you let go, the world expands around you, offering endless possibilities for joy and connection. Sometimes life's beauty is realized not in moments of control, but in the gentle acceptance of what is, in trusting the flow of the universe and finding peace in its rhythm. As you learn to let go, you'll find that life doesn't need to be perfect to be fulfilling. The imperfect moments, the unplanned paths, they carry their own kind of grace. Embrace them, not as obstacles, but as the journey itself. In time, you'll understand that letting go enriches your journey. It allows life to surprise you, to carry you where you are meant to go, and to bring forth the beauty of new horizons. Every day becomes a new beginning.